So I must say very patient audience. Now I realize how complex the tax is. So all along I have been only facing the heat in our departmental reviews, and I used to think my tax colleague is finding excuses. While I have overview understanding, I am not deep into the problems what our department guys are facing and how they are struggling with the departments, with the reconciliation, with the vendors, etc. I think this experience gave me a bit of enlightenment that what they have been explaining has at least good amount of truth, if not 100%. Now, this is tax and finance. So therefore, finance came at the end. The whole session, the whole day, the whole event is all about tax and a bit of finance, which you have implicitly inbuilt into the discussions. So the learned speakers have already explained how finance has its part in the taxation. But I will speak only about finance, keeping the tax aside, because it was enough covered, sufficiently covered, and a person like me also got good amount of enlightenment. So now is time that we discuss small disclaimers. This is not to think. Fine. So with your permission, I want you to take a brief self test for all of you, yourself. No pen, no calculator, no mobile, just you can simply do a test on your own. Okay. Recollect these things, each of them in 10 seconds. Top 5 materials of your company. If one is a consultant, of course it is simple. Top 5 vendors. 10 seconds. Top 5 customers. 10 seconds. Top 3 competitors. Unless you are the monopoly, there is no competitor, or triopoly, and there are only 2 if it is a triopoly. Number of employees, rough number, that could be very dynamic in these days because we are seeing the big resignations. Number of dealers, subcontractors, etc. Whatever, category is not very important. So you need not say that we don't have any dealers, distributors like that, broadly. So 10 seconds. Number of outlets, branches, or your locations wherever you have. All the locations what we have been listening, that you have to maintain your books and declare to MCA and to GST additional place of business, all those things. 10 seconds. Roles of your promoter family members in the business. So except companies like ITC or Bata, rest all have got some lineage of promoter family. So that's also very important thing. And top 5 most important employees in your group and their broad strategies or tricks, you call whatever it is. So let us say strategies. And then top 5 risks. We have covered enough of risk management and we have understood how they have to be faced, etc. Top 5 risks your company and the business are facing. So we are done with this. So you must have got scoring for yourself. 1 score, 1 point, 1 score each if you have done. You got less than 3, you are a freshman, means a junior CFO, regardless of age, including myself. So I am talking about myself, you must be less than 55, many of you, so you are also same freshman, regardless of your age. If you have got a score of less than 3, you are just an entrant in the CFO role, whatever be your designation. You could be director of finance, CFO, group controller, or GM, vice president, whatever be the designation per se, and you are more than 3, less than or equivalent to 5, then you are a sophomore. Sophomore means the second year student or the final year student is called sophomore. Generally 2-year course, secondary is called sophomore, first year one is called freshman. Man, woman, gender neutral, not to bother much. Now, you are between 5 and 7, equivalent or less than 7 and more than 5. Then you are among top CFOs. What if you are between 7 and 9? You are among best CFOs. This is English. not much to bother. But those points are very valid. This is English, this is humor. What we have seen, the 10 points are very, very valid. If you are equivalent to 10, 10 out of 10, for sure some of you would have scored. I have not scored though. You are more than a CFO. So call yourself CEO, call yourself the leader, call yourself MD equivalent, whatever. Congrats and wish you a higher stature. I don't know if there is something more than CEO, but still fine. So now let us quickly look at the corporate finance challenges and solutions. I am not doubting that a single point will be unknown to you. This is broadly a refresher discussion, that too a very brief discussion. Now, these are the challenges which I am facing, and so are many of our colleagues facing in the finance roles. Now, board calls you to improve the presentation from the angle of ESG. Why? Consultant has been telling, banker has been telling, your merchant banker, investment banker, or your well-wishers have been telling, financial well-wishers, advisors have been telling. Operations remaining same, how do you present it in a better way to project the ESG compliance what your company has? Cash flow management. I will not elaborate it, you understand what cash flow management is. Most of them are axiomatic, as I said, just refresher. Then regulatory compliance, this is the whole day session, and I am the least competent to speak about it. Digital transformation, that also has been covered well. Delayed receivables. So delayed receivables is one thing which troubles the CFO, while he is not the one who made the sales, he is not the one who has to collect the money. He has to account for it, manage the amounts received, but he is questioned why there has been delays. In fact, we should be questioning. We should be questioning the board for giving such a kind of liberty to the sales guys to make X and YZ sales and not being able to collect, and the collection guys for not being able to collect it. Bank submissions. The MSOD days are gone, MSOP, then FFR 1, 2, then stock statements, then now the enclosures which have been recently introduced by some banks. These all are routine, but they become very complex when we get a bank revenue audit after 6 months asking for a small clarification. And we are not kept a track like how we have spoken about GST. We don't keep a track of how we made the adjustment for work in progress. Why when we have 600 creditors, 600 crores creditors, we have taken only 410, we don't know, we don't remember. And therefore, the bank submissions becomes a big problem at that point of time. Cost of capital. So, whenever you meet your chairman, MD or director of finance or other people, they'll ask, they forget everything and they ask you, at what rate are we borrowing? The before night, in the evening, his wife's friend's party, he would have interacted, and that the gentleman who is the husband of that lady would have told, I am borrowing at 6%, 7%. Then that would have got deeper into his mind, and then he will ask you, he will inquire. Then you would tell, sir, 9.10, I am trying to bring it down to 8.90. We need competent guys. He has not said anything. People are borrowing at 6.5%. Banks are borrowing at 7.5%. How people will borrow at 6.5%? Unless it is external borrowing, something, structured borrowing, external borrowing. But then this is a challenge for all of us. Credit rating. So we give our best of presentation. Still, rating guys will find their own reasons to say why they could not upgrade, and then we look like a victim or criminal. Victim before our colleagues, the poor chap, he must have got a beating, oral beating, and then board thinks we should have a competent guy. And tax notices, that is enough, covered enough. Functional challenges internally. This is within the organization, within the department, within ourselves. Reconciliation among procurement sales accounts, enough, covered enough in fact. Payment follow-ups from procurement teams. You have not made procurement, you have not given promise. Document captured the promise from the company, but follow-up is to you. Of course, sometimes through sales teams, sometimes through the other teams, but then it is you who will take the heat of the payment follow-up from your creditors. Sometimes directly from creditors, sometimes from procurement teams. Then MIS formulation, streamlining submissions. How much ever you streamline, your MD will have one appreciating note at the end. I am sure you will improve it. At the end of the day, he will say that. So sarcastically or maybe really appreciatively, he will say that, which means we are not up to the mark. Whatever you do, whichever ERP you put, Whatever brain you put, how many of our brains go into that, still that will be the comment. Then inter-departments coordination, intra-departments coordination, work distribution challenges. Whatever remains pending in the review, then chairman will say, Mr. CFO, why don't you distribute the work properly? Why don't you distribute the work properly? So he says work is not distributed. In fact, it is a true also. There cannot be a perfect work distribution. Who is perfect today will become imperfect over a period of time. Who was very good in some work could become less interested into that. These are common things. And budget preparation. We prepare the budget, more particularly project companies, at the end of the day, we'll ask, why it has gone so much? You are not spending, you are only releasing the money as per the board approval. The board should be held responsible for giving the approvals, or the project committee should be given the responsibility, but you are held. Then board reporting. Board reporting, initial days, in fact 30 years back, I used to be very excited. Boardroom itself I used to feel like temple. Never have I felt so much of excitement or anything, even when I went to Rameshwaram or any place. I felt very excited. But over a period of time I realized it is part of life. Now you understand what it is when I say part of life. So boardroom reporting is very challenging, more particularly when our independent directors raise some questions which chairman cannot answer. Until then we are safe, we can be relaxed like this. The moment a question comes and chairman has a bit of sweat on his forehead, then we get lot of sweat all over our face. Not because of our mistakes. Sometimes environment, market situation, sometimes companies' aggressiveness, sometimes misjudgment, whatever, and talent gap. So we always have this talent gap, starting from ourselves onto our junior most field level person, that we can never fill. You fill, someone will leave. That's a cycle. Then internal disturbances. There are some internal disturbances within the organization. Not challenges, disturbances. So risky decisions of board, they impact your professional thinking. You give your best of the advice after a lot of hard work. You consulted best of the colleagues, friends, and took the best counsel, summarized it and presented it. Fine. You have done a good job. But by the way, so when are we implementing this? Is a final talk. So that is put aside like an ornamentary report. Facing abuses for the financial issues of the company. You go to bank, you go to income tax authority. You mean to say the whole project was 2,000 crores and 4 companies have done 6,000 crores work and paid tax of 400 crores? You mean to say that? The tax authority will shout at us, we have not done anything. Freedom on decisions, less than what is required. It is less than what is required. Whatever be the company, I am not distinguishing any company. It could be a behemoth like Reliance, it could be a small company, whatever. Situation remain broadly same. It could be even in L&T, situation remains same. Then technological discussions. So I come and then discuss. So you're talking about AI, you're talking about digital transformation. Last month someone was talking about how blockchain is connected for their payment tracks and for the inspections at the ports. I don't understand so much. So I am stuck with this as a small disturbance. Coordination with heads of other departments. Forever we are seen as the villain in the company. Finance person, tax person is the villain, unbranded villain of the company. Communication and fashion profiles. We are traditional generally. Just because we are wearing blazers, suits doesn't mean we are fancy or we are posh. We are always less polished, less posh than when compared, at least when compared with the marketing guys or other departments. Then this is the last one, definitely you must have felt it. All other CXOs will have a common villain, which I spoke, and they gang up against us. If something were to be discussed and decided who is the culprit, points go to CFO. Finally, everyone will be very unanimous on that point to mention that it is CFO who is responsible than anyone else. Okay. This is English again, but then before we go into how to address financial challenges, I thought let me give a bit of breather discussing about non-financial challenges. Be receptive. This is discussed by our speakers. Keep your eyes and ears open and then learn, update, all those things. Part of it, it's also covered. Most of it is covered, and I am at the last schedule in the speaker as a speaker. So I want nothing much or new to tell because it's already covered, but I am helpless. Business knowledge. This point has tremendous depth and importance. You are not a CFO, you are not a business leader unless you understand your business. this is my personal experience. This 35 years what I learnt is, you should know business as much as your chairman knows, MD knows, or the technical head knows. Technical head knows. Unless you know the business, you are a puppet. You are not counted as an expert. You are counted as a guy, supporting guy only. For you to speak on behalf of your company in a boardroom where joint venture partnership is being debated, decision has to be made. Unless you club your financial discussion, financial jargon with that of your technical jargon and with complete understanding of business, you will not be heard, you will not be given audience. It's very, very important. The first day we should start understanding business, not about financial position of the company. That all we can't understand. That's our left-hand job, we can easily understand it. Business knowledge is very, very important. Then the subject, of course, it is put next. I tried to put all with some steps up, down like that. Yeah. Subject also you have to update and upgrade. Improve work and life balance, follow up communications. You should be very smart in sending communications and follow-ups. Widen your professional network. Participate in such sessions, so you get to exchange your cards, meet seniors, meet juniors, all that stuff. Refresh with occasional vacations. This is also one-way vacation. There can be a complete vacations as well. And improve your presentation skills to your banks, to your vendors, to your joint venture partners, to the rating agencies, and to the government agencies wherever required. Then corporate finance challenges. Fine. This is the core of my discussion. Then I request Priyanka ji, you have to allow me 2 more minutes if I am running short also, please kindly. Now, this is the crux of what I am explaining. You have to separate your borrowings risk-wise. This is corporate finance, pure corporate finance. I am an ex-banker, investment banker, now among borrower group. Separate your borrowings risk category wise. Let's say working capital, let's say one equipment which is standard will command as low as that 7%, 7.5%. Equipment which is semi-standard may command 9.5%, 10%. And absolutely non-standard may require you to put 12, 13 also acceptance brand. But when you segregate your borrowings as per the risk bucket, you will achieve an overall WACC, weighted average cost of capital, far lower than what you are paying. That far lower could be 100 basis points to 150 basis points, big number in fact, on a financial pecking order. So this is so theoretical and practical also. What is that pecking order? Believe me, give me your balance sheet, I can tell you, you are financially disciplined or not in 40 minutes time. How? What do? I will see whether your company has got access to the pecking order borrowings or not. What are that? Firstly, simple, now back to theory. Public deposits, if there is a cap on that, then you can tap. If you are A-rated, you can tap commercial paper, there is a tap on it, then you can tap, let us say intercorporate deposits, there is a cap on it, debt equity ratio, then you can tap bank borrowings, then within that also there are buckets. Then you will go to convertible debt, first secured debt. Why secured debt? The coupon will be lower, benign. Then you will go to unsecured debt, coupon will be higher. And you will go to the convertible debt thereafter. Why? Convertible debt will carry far lower coupon than secured, unsecured. Still you will go to the last as a last thing, because in the pecking order, convertible debt is considered as quasi equity, equivalent equity, which is the precious capital which should not be tapped unless you require it. Then you will touch your preference capital, and finally, if there is no other option left, then you will tap equity. This is the financial pecking order which is proven theoretically and also practically. And if you look at a big corporation balance sheet, let's say Walmart or Bechtel, you will find the same financial pecking order well in order. You will find it in Indian companies also, not that it is not found, but we slip some steps. If a company is skipping something and then borrowing at a higher step, it means it is not financially disciplined or in order. There is higher risk for me as a lender if I am lending. I can easily sense it. Yield compression gains, this is very important. Within all of your business, let me take my example, it becomes simple for me. We are executing 3 national highway projects, cumulatively 4,000 crores. Once we complete these projects, so there are 3 components, 3 parts in every project: development phase, construction phase, ownership phase. Development phase generally commands or requires a return of 30%. Construction phase will require a return of about 15%. Ownership phase will require a return of 7.5, normative numbers. So I'll be very happy to be developer because it requires a different skill, I am capable, competent and I earn. I may think if I should be in the construction phase also or should I outsource it. Adani is not undertaking construction on its own for all of its roads, it is outsourcing because maybe its cost of capital is not commensurate. Then when it comes to third part, ownership phase, if you are talking about a commercial real estate building, any infrastructure project or any project which has got certain annual returns for a certain period of let us say 10, 15, 20 years. During the ownership phase, the returns will be hardly 7.5. Now think yourself, your cost of capital must be definitely more than that. Your borrowings must be definitely at 8.5 and above. They can't be at least 7.5 for sure, which means an average Indian entity cannot afford to hold the assets during ownership phase. Any average company, it has to sell. To whom? To someone like CPPDQ, CPIPB, Ontario, CalPERS, Brookfield, Blackstone or JICA. These are the companies whose cost of capital is downward of 3 and in some cases minus also. So as we speak today, the interest rate scenarios have slightly changed, but put myself into the past of 6 months before, 7 months before, there were negative interest rates even in Japan, even in Switzerland. Switzerland in fact, a couple of years back when we were there, we were discussing the interest rate from a private credit association is -3, -3. So he told, sir, you take 100 rupees today, dollars, return $97 and mind you, you will get a felicitation. You will get a felicitation, which means there is a negative interest rate of 3%, assuming 0 interest rate, which is the present case in Japan. So what do they need to do? They don't long to make 1%, 5% return. They want their capital to be preserved. For them to come to India and own this kind of sovereign guaranteed assets with 7.5 return for 20 years, every quarter, every half year, every year having return on hand, and they don't get anything more than this even in heaven. That is the kind of attraction they have. So they come here. That is the reason why capital flies from the developed economies to underdeveloping or developing or underdeveloped economies like ours. Our GDP is, now it is about 7.5 is what we are, 7.3 is what government has expected. Let us say 7, let us say 6.5 as per IMF estimate, 6.5, US 2.5. What does that mean? An average business operating in India should be earning at least 6.5% return. It earns, that is implied on an average. An average business in US would be earning 2.5. So for them to have more expansion or more profits, where will they go? They'll have to come to countries like ours, because here our average business growth rate is higher, returns are higher, and they can assume a bit of risk. Therefore, capital flies from those countries to countries like India. So now, why we are speaking about yield compression? Once an asset passes the heavy risk phase of development, the moderate risk phase of construction, and enters into near risk 0 phase of ownership, you should, if possible, sell the asset. If that is not possible, then you structure a transaction where you will get this asset alone rated separately, raise instrument in the form of NCDs to mutual funds or insurance companies, which is now many companies are doing. Therefore, this asset of yours, while it is on your books, has got an equivalent cost, which is capital which is raised, and it became almost neutral in your balance sheet. Therefore, you are not having a 7.5 lower return for your overall business, because the money what you realized by structuring NCD or selling of this asset will again earn what? More than 8.5, more than 10.5 or 15%, whatever is your business return. Explore new financial instruments, MTNs, STNs. Now we are seeing a lot of new instruments also, some of them, those you can explore. Then always ensure some financial slack. I need to explain this slack. See, as an average traditional finance professional, I always tell my chairman a bit humbly, sir, let us not exhaust our borrowings. Think this 50 crore rupees is not available. Think this 280 crore rupees is not available. Use the balance amount only. Doesn't mean that should never be used. We have paid processing fee. We will utilize on a rainy day. On a rainy day, not on a sunny day. If you are utilizing on a sunny day, it means your requirement is more than what you are utilizing now. So this is called financial slack. A company is, I will take you to net debt zero as you are talking. Net debt zero company, Reliance. Why they are having 3.5 lakhs debt, 3.5 lakhs mutual fund investments? Because this is slack. Any day should they require, they will use this 3.5 lakhs and purchase any company in the market. If only they don't have this debt and mutual fund investments, then what do? They have to borrow afresh. May or may not be possible, generally not possible. Therefore, this financial slack and net debt zero companies concept is commensurate. Then dynamic MI system, whatever we have, definitely we should improve. Interdepartmental meetings, once in a while we need to hold, even if it is only formal, ornamental, that protocol, culture should be developed by us. Then we become a powerful or a seen corporate finance guy. Guy, girl, or gender neutral, not to bother much. Strengthen checks and balances at every hierarchy. Even if chairman asks, don't rush. Sir, this procedure has to be filed, sir. Kindly send a mail, sir. First time you tell, second time you tell, then he'll realize this CFO is a tough nut to crack. Let me send a mail. He'll not waste time. Focus on the digital transformation and automation. That is your baby. You have been discussing it. So thanks for the patient audience. Thanks to Priyanka. She has already put time up. Get up, get down here.